In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to do to prevent hearing "I'll get back to you." And just in case you hear "I'll get back to you," I'll tell you exactly what to do so you can move that over to a sale. My name is Iyore. I've trained over 23,000 salespeople across 5 countries: Nigeria, Ghana, USA, UAE, Rwanda. I'm also an author of several books and programs on sales. I worked in an organization where I was able to grow a portfolio of $3.5 million to over $7 million. I was able to bring in 21 HNIs to my organization in a single month. I also participated in a sales competition where I was sent for an all-expense-paid trip for the World Cup because I won the sales competition. So in this video, I'm going to show you practical techniques you can use to be able to convert these objections to sales. So when a client or prospect tells you, "I'll get back to you," this is what you're going to do. First of all, there's a preparation phase to get you ready to handle any objection. Objection handling requires preparation. Selling requires preparation. In the sales process, prospecting, building rapport, qualifying, identifying needs, communicating value, handling objections, we've already set it into the sales process. It's already there because we anticipate it and we prepare for it so that we can be ready to handle it. Now, objection handling is something that you want to start to prepare, first of all, mentally, then in your dressing. But the mental aspect is the most important. What kind of preparation am I talking about? For example, your ability to anticipate, prepare for a rejection. Rejection in sales is normal. The path to being an excellent salesperson, the path to getting that perfect sales process that always works is through rejection. Because the more you face rejection, the more you realize, oh, this is what I'm going to do better in my next meeting. Oh, this is how I'm going to be able to present myself better going forward. Okay, what did I do right in this presentation right now? Oh, wow, good. I like the fact that I asked questions. I like the fact that I started with the right tone of voice. Going forward, this is what I'm going to tweak. And that kind of mentality and this kind of approach, and notice the way I talked about it. I'm not criticizing myself and saying, what did I do wrong? I'm even thinking, what did I even do right, first of all? Because my sales process is not flawed. There are some parts of my sales process that are working. But what are things I'm going to improve on so that I can have a perfect sales process? So every rejection you face gives you feedback and gets you ready to be able to handle objections going forward. And this is the major preparation you need to have, the mindset shifts you need to have to handle the objection, "I'll get back to you." Now, when a prospect says, "I'll get back to you," is one of two things that's causing it. Number one, the prospect feels, I'm not even the person you should be speaking to. I don't have the power to make a decision. Number two, the prospect feels, the value you've given me, I'm not convinced about it yet. I'm not sure this is the best price or this is the best offer available to me. These are the two things in the prospect's mind. And that's why we're going to look at how you can address these two things now. The first thing you need to look at, like just based on what I've said right now, which is the prospect's mind. The person is thinking, am I the right person? When you're engaging a prospect, make sure you qualify the prospect. Be sure that the person you're speaking to is the right person. Confirm. I remember a popular story in a book about sales. Someone says, you walk up to someone, you see someone in an estate, and you walk up to the person and start selling to the person. And you're trying to sell something that the person would enjoy in that estate. And after you're done pitching, presenting, doing everything, the person says, "I don't live here." What? After you've presented for about 15, 20 minutes, the person that tells you doesn't live there. Why did you waste your time? So in that kind of scenario, you tweak your process and you now say to yourself, you know what, before I start presenting to anybody in this estate, I'll first of all ask, do you live here? So next person you meet, you start the conversation, you now ask, "Sir, do you live here?" Why? Because if you don't live here, this presentation is not for you. So in the same way, when you meet your prospect, if the person you're speaking to is not the person that makes the final decision, then you're not speaking to the right person. Now, how do you find the person how are you sure, or how do you know if the person you're speaking to makes the final decision? Remember, when you qualify, you look out for 3 things: financial capacity, urgency, and decision making. Now, I'm focusing on decision making here because that's one of the things that makes the prospect say, "I'll get back to you." There are questions you can ask to be able to determine if the person you're speaking to is the decision maker. The tool you use to determine this is questions. Questions are in twofold. We have open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. I'll give you some of the kind of questions that you can use to determine the person, if the person you're speaking to is a decision maker. For example, imagine maybe you're on the phone call with someone and you're trying to book an appointment, because we don't expect you to use your phone to sell to close the sale. The phone, we always recommend you use it to book the appointments. So I'm on a phone call with the prospect and I'm trying to sell the appointments, because if I can sell him to give me the appointment, I most likely can be able to convert this into a sale. So I'm not talking to telesales people right now, because telesales would mean that you want to just close directly over the phone. But if you're a salesperson, not a telesales, your focus should not be to sell over the phone. Your focus should be to get the appointment. Now, if I'm trying to get the appointment and the prospect says, I'll get back to you, it's because I didn't sell the appointments properly. So if you improve the way you present yourself on the phone to sell the appointment, he most likely would be able to give you the appointment. Now, let's assume that you've been able to sell yourself successfully and you've gotten a physical meeting. And right there, you're with the prospect. If the person is not in Lagos or within the same vicinity as you, maybe in diaspora, maybe in another city, feel free to get a virtual meeting. Get a virtual meeting. And when you get on a virtual call, make sure that the person's video is turned on, just like your video. I would always recommend you use platforms like maybe Zoom, Microsoft Teams. If you're going to use a platform like WhatsApp, for example, make sure that the prospect is the one that recommends a WhatsApp call. Don't on your own recommend a WhatsApp call. Preferably, recommend Zoom or any of the other more sophisticated platforms. Then the prospect says, well, I don't know how to use that platform. Why don't you just do WhatsApp? They're fine. You can then do that. Now, if you get on a virtual call, this is how you go about it. Video call. Or face-to-face meeting with the prospect. Same thing. This is how you go about it. One of the earliest questions you need to ask is, Mr. Prospect, peradventure I walk you through this presentation and you say exactly what you like. Is anybody else you'd have loved to be here with you so that at least that can help you make sure that you are making the right decision? Another question. Mr. Prospect, after this presentation, we're probably going to have another meeting, right? I'm going to walk you through quickly what we have right now. But in our next meeting, which will probably be later this week or next week, depending on your schedule, who would you want to join you in that meeting, please? So that I can note the person's name down and be able to plan with both of you for the next meeting. You see that? So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to find out who else should be here so that he can make the decision, to find the other decision makers. Another question could be, Mr. Prospect, for most of our best clients, when we run these presentations, they normally would want to recourse to somebody else after the presentation, just to be sure that they're making the right decision. For you, sir, who would that be? For some people, it could be their spouse, the engineer, the lawyer, the project manager. Who would that be for you, sir? So, you see, the questions are so many. Just decide which is best for you. You can replay this again, write out these questions, and practice them when you go out today. So, after asking these questions, please note that if the person you're speaking to is not the decision maker, your responsibility is to make sure that you reschedule this meeting. And when you reschedule this meeting, you want to ensure that the person who is supposed to be in that meeting joins that meeting. Now, the communication to reschedule the meeting is this. Mr. Prospect, can we have the meeting with you and you mentioned who the other person is? Can it be tomorrow, 9 a.m. or do we do Friday, 2 p.m.? Give him 2 dates. Then let us get the meeting. Now, this would mean that if the person you're speaking to is not the final decision maker, apart from trying to reschedule the meeting, it also means that you can't give all the information. Because if you give him all the information, there will be no reason for him to have another meeting with you. He will just say, okay, don't worry, you've already told me everything. I'll go and tell whether my spouse or my lawyer or my directors, and we'll get back to you. Now, don't get into that trap, right? Don't tell them everything. There are 2 things you can do at this point. Either you just educate them about the industry, about what they need to know to make a right decision. And that's why personal branding is important. That's why doing things like I do like this are important. Because, you see, the more you teach people and educate people about your product or your industry, you find out that it's easier to educate prospects every time you meet them. So focus on education. Education gives you credibility. The prospects would believe that because you have educated him or her, you are the right person to do business with. So focus on educating. After educating, if you want to take a step further, you can give him some of the product features of what you have to offer. So this means that if you probably have about 5 key things you offer, you can give him probably just 2 points and tell him, all right, sir, in the next meeting, because of time, I'm going to share with you this, that. Tell him don't tell him what you're going to share with him in terms of the exact product features, but tell him, create some curiosity. If, for example, the next feature I'm going to talk to him about is probably a special savings scheme that can double his revenue. And the feature is we also have a double interest in 2 days savings scheme. I won't call it double interest in savings scheme, double interest in 2 days savings scheme. I'll probably create curiosity and say, I'm going to show you one of the major products or features that we have that 80% of our clients rush into. And this helps them grow their finances remarkably. So I can't be able to go into all that now, but in the next meeting, I'll be able to walk you through that and help you and the other party make a decision. So you want to create some curiosity so that the next meeting can be possible. Make it possible. That's where you'll be speaking to the right person. And the moment you get in the room with the right person and you're speaking to both of them or 3 of them, as the case may be, what would happen is the chances of them saying, I'll get back to you will be slim, because you most likely will be speaking to the people that can make a decision. Now, if you have all the people in the room and you speak to them and they still say, I'll get back to you, then this could not be the final problem. And I want us to address it now, so that with these 2 things right now, you will know that this objection is gone forever. The first thing I've said to you so far right now is, I've said to you so far, prepare for the objection. Rejection is normal. Rejection helps you perfect your sales process. I've now said, to make sure that you handle this objection of, I'll get back to you, you need to be sure that you're speaking to the right person. And I've shown you how to determine if you're speaking to the right person, the questions to ask to qualify right now. The final thing, if you're in the room with the right people and you've spoken to them, you want to also make sure that you communicate value clearly and persuasively. Several times, I have met salespeople. I do our organization, Ultra Advantage, we do a lot of retainers with prospects or with clients, where the clients have us work with their sales teams. And from time to time, it could be monthly, weekly, we go in, have meetings with the salespeople, trainings, we review their performance for the month, and they give us details of their client engagement, and we walk them through how to navigate the difficulties to come to a close. In one of these sessions, I was engaging a salesperson, and he was telling me about how he had met this client. This client had financial capacity. He had determined the decision-making process, but when he had pitched to the man didn't seem convinced. And I said, can you walk me through what your communication strategy was? How did you go about your communication? And he didn't have any strategy. And I said, okay, you know what? Tell me what you think you told him. He just rambled all around about the products. We have this, we have that, we have this, we have that. When you sell value, make sure you don't wing it. When somebody says we just wing it, you're just trying to navigate your way through the conversation. Don't just wing it. Make sure you have a systematic process. There is what we call the systematic communication of value. Value must be communicated in a systematic order for it to be understood. If I gave you my house address, and I told you that my house address was number 2 Salvation Road, Okwebi, Ikeja, Lagos. That's my house address. You would understand me and know where to find me. But what if I told you my house address was Okwebi, number 2, Ikeja, Salvation Road? It's all over the place, right? It's now your mind, you're not trying to rearrange it before you can suddenly realize, oh, I've gotten it. So you see, my decision to come and visit you is now slower, because I had to first of all reprocess and rearrange that address in my head before I now said, all right, I would be visiting you. Whereas the first time, I just said number 2 Salvation Road, Okwebi, Ikeja, Lagos. Okay. And it registered, and I made the decision faster. So you want to arrange the value you're communicating in the right order. There's a reason why it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. You see, life requires order to function. The value you are communicating, arrange it properly. And there are 2 levels of arrangement. Number 1, when you're communicating value, make sure you determine your primary features and your secondary features. What's the difference? Primary features talk about what you have in common with the competition. Secondary features talks about what differentiates you. Your primary features is what disqualifies your competition. Your secondary features is what qualifies you to do business with this prospect. Your primary features helps the prospect realize that you are different from the competition. Because by the time you mention your primary features and you mention everything the competition is already doing, that you already do, in his mind he's wondering, okay, if you're already doing everything those people do, okay, then what should I buy from you? You now go straight to your secondary features, which is what differentiates you. That's where the prospect knows, this makes sense. These guys are better because they have a lot more. So you see, we do not sell our similarities. We sell our differences. Because prospects don't buy because of your similarities. They buy because of your difference. So you must constantly be thinking about your difference and constantly be innovating what your difference is. So that way you can be more persuasive. Now, apart from communicating from primary into secondary, another thing you also want to do is that, please note, when you're communicating from primary to secondary, you don't spend too long on the primary. Go to the primary quickly and jump straight into the secondary. And by the way, don't mention to your prospect and say, sir, these are our primary features. Sir, these are our secondary features. He won't understand what you're saying. So how you need to communicate is, Mr. Prospect, these are the things we have in common with our competition. Then you quickly say it. But then your tone of voice changes. So that he knows that it's a new chapter. But sir, this is what differentiates us. Number one. Then list the things for him one after the other. Now, when you're talking about your secondary features, what differentiates you, you want to ensure that you arrange them in the right order. How do you arrange it? Pick your best 3 points. Maybe whatever you sell, whether it's real estate, tech, insurance, homes, mortgages, whatever kind of solution. By the way, I would appreciate if in the comment section right now, you type for me what you sell. I'll be glad. So that if I know that I'm having more of a particular industry, I'll just focus more on you. So please type in the comment section for me what you sell, please. Select the 5 top differences you have for that particular product. The 5 top differences. Oh, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After listing the 5, ladies and gentlemen, next thing, select the top 3, the best 3. You can take a sheet of paper. You can pause the video if this is a replay. Write the top 5. Circle or tick the best 3. From the best 3, right? Select your best one, number 1. Put it as your 5th point when you're communicating. Your second best one, put it as your 3rd point when you're communicating. Then your 3rd best, put it as your 1st point when you're communicating. What's going to happen is that with this now, your best point is last, 2nd best at the middle, 3rd best number 1, all the other points are number 2 and number 4. You will see that your communication will move to a crescendo. It will go from 1, strong, another supporting point, stronger, another supporting point, then your strongest point, then you ask for the close. If you do these things, you reduce your chances of hearing I'll get back to you. I remember I was engaging a client and a prospect. It was sometime last year. And the man felt like, your price was too high for us. Now, the reason why I was saying your price was too high was because we had not even done the value communication the way we should have at that point. Because apparently, the person I was speaking to, he had told me was a decision maker. So the moment we were about to make a decision, and it looked like he wanted to bring somebody else in. I had already tried to confirm earlier, but he still said he was the final person. But for some reason, he just felt he wanted to bring somebody in. So I said, okay, no problem. Only for me to discover that this person he had brought in was like the chairman or a senior person in the business. By the time we were having this conversation, you could tell there was some struggle to decide. All I just had to now focus on doing at that point in time was communicating value in this systematic order. From the strong points, gradually to the stronger points, then moved on to the strongest points, and to help him make a decision to say, yes, we're going ahead. So this kind of communication with conviction, communicating value with conviction, like you are sure of what you're saying. And that's why you must spend time thinking about the value, constantly thinking about it, so that it gets very strong in your heart and you can communicate it with the right passion. And just so you know, when you communicate the first point to the second point, to the third point, you can even try to close from there, from the third point. It's called a test close. By the third point, you can start to ask, Mr. Prospect, is this making sense to you so far? Then try to close. If you can't close, move to the 4th point, to the 5th point, then try to close again. you'll see that it will suddenly change how the client says will get back to you. Now, if after all this, for any reason, the client says will get back to you, maybe because you didn't qualify properly, maybe because you're still learning these concepts, you didn't communicate value the way you should have communicated value, prospect says I'll get back to you, then you ask, Mr. Prospect, what do you like so far about what you've said? Can you give me the top two things you like so far from all the things you shared? Please tell me. And I said, okay, I like the fact that that's okay. So if that's the case, please let me know. Do you have any concerns that I can address right now? What are your concerns? Then if the person now moves that to price objections and says, oh, it's the price, oh, it's that, then you can now start to handle that on another level. Now, we've done videos on that already, and I'll probably put a link so that you can be able to watch the video on how to handle those price objections. All right, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, remember to comment, share with your friends, share with your colleagues at work, and please remember to subscribe so that every time you subscribe, every time we have a new video out, you'll be notified and you'll be able to take action to join us for this program. Thank you so much for watching. Do have a lovely day.